In today's video, we are talking about the 3 things I avoided until I became financially free in regards to my money. So if you are looking to become financially free or retire at a young age, make sure and stick around until the very end of the video because I do have a bonus item for you at the end. I am Tiffany Thomas, your wealth mentor. I achieved financial freedom in my 30s and became a millionaire at 40. I'm here to help you do that even earlier and easier and without bias, since I do not work for any third parties. And if you are interested in becoming financially free and investing your money, I have a program where you can work with me on exactly how to do that. So if you are interested, I will leave a link below in the description. You can click on that link and check out the details on how to work with me. All right, let's talk about these 3 items that I did not do until I became financially free. Number 1 is that I did not eat out that often. Eating out, or just food in general, is one of the 3 largest expenses for most Americans. So if you can reduce one of those largest expenses, it is going to make a huge difference on your finances. This is one thing that I really focused on. When I had my 9-to-5 job, I would bring my lunch to work about 99% of the time, honestly. I would pack it the night before so it was ready to go. And I just made that such a priority for myself. I didn't want to be spending money on eating out. That wasn't a priority. I wanted to put my money elsewhere. And so that's what I did. And I actually did another video breaking down the amount that I saved by bringing my lunch to work. So I will leave a link above. You can check that video out later on. But the small amount that you spend every single time you eat out really does add up to a significant amount. And I feel like it's even more now because prices have gone up so much for eating out. I used to spend maybe $10 when I would eat out, and now it's a minimum of at least $20. And depending on where you go, it can be $30, $40. I feel like prices just keep going up and up, right? So we really need to make a conscious effort and realize how much money we are spending on eating out. And one way that I like to do this is by using a free app. It's called Empower. I have all of my accounts, my financial accounts, hooked to Empower. So I can see exactly where I'm spending money. I can hook all of my credit cards, my checking, my savings, even my investments to Empower. And that way I can log into this app every single morning and see exactly where I've spent my money or what money has come in. But that way I am paying attention to my money. And that is where it all starts. If we aren't even paying attention to what we are spending our money on, then we're not going to be able to make improvements. So if you are interested in using this free app, I have a referral link. I'll leave a link below in the description. You can click on that and set up a free account. But of course you don't have to. You can write down your expenses. You can create a spreadsheet. I also use a spreadsheet with Empower. But just start looking at your money. This makes a huge difference because if you can see, oh, I spent a lot of money eating out this month. I really need to be better next month. Then you're able to realize that and then make the improvement. But if we never look at what we're spending our money on, then we are not going to improve. So in going along with this, I didn't eat out for dinner or even breakfast. I would always eat breakfast at home. I eat oatmeal pretty much every morning for breakfast. But I didn't eat out at dinner either. I would maybe go out on the weekends sometimes with some friends if they were going out. But I made it a priority. So I would usually cook in batches. I would make, for example, taco soup in the crock pot. I would just throw all of the ingredients in there. And then as soon as I would get home from work, I could have dinner. So I didn't really have to think about it. And then I would just freeze maybe half of that or even more than half of that and put some in the fridge. And then I would just eat that for the rest of the week. And then I would make something else the next week and do the same thing. And then later I could go to the freezer and defrost that taco soup when I hadn't had it for a while and then eat that a few more times. And then just kind of repeat the process. But if we can just make it a priority to be more conscious about how much we are spending on food, that is going to save us a lot of money. And then item number 2 that I avoided until I became financially free was buying things I could afford but didn't really need. So for example, if I wanted to buy an expensive car, I could have bought an expensive car. I could have made that payment and paid it off over the 5 years or however long my car loan was. But I didn't really want to be doing that, right? I wanted to achieve financial freedom. So I bought a reasonably priced car and was able to pay that off early. And I didn't buy name brand clothing or name brand handbags or shoes. I bought things that I thought were cute and were affordable. And I could have bought the more expensive name brand clothing items or handbags, but that's not where my focus was. And I'm really glad that I didn't buy those things because I was able to make investments that created money for me. So by, just thinking, well, I know I can afford this, but do I really need to do that? And it's not just about our needs, it's also about our wants. But we just have to realize that we can afford anything, but not everything, right? Like Paula Pant says. So we just need to make priorities. Where do we want to be spending our money? And then cut back on the rest, on those things that aren't important to us. And for me, like I said before, eating out wasn't a priority for me. So I hardly spent any money on that. And I did spend money on clothes that I didn't really need, but I wanted them. And looking back, I wish I wouldn't have spent so much on those clothes that I wanted at the time. But nonetheless, I wasn't being extravagant and thinking, okay, well, yeah, I do have $1,000 in my savings. I can just go on a huge shopping spree. Right? I was thinking, no, I can spend, a couple $100s instead of $1,000 and still get some really cute clothes. So just think about those things, even though you can afford it and maybe your friends are buying these extravagant things, but you don't really need to. And if it's not a priority for you, then don't spend your money on it because you'll end up regretting it later. And then just to give another example, I did travel. I took vacations, but I wasn't putting that on my credit card and paying interest on my credit card to pay for those vacations. And I could have afforded it by doing that, but that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to pay for the full vacation without paying anything extra, without paying any interest. And so that's what I did. I made travel a priority. I knew how much I had to spend on travel, and that's what I spent on travel. I didn't go over my budget and extend myself and have to pay interest or take money from investments that I didn't want to be taking money from. And that being said, even now that I am financially free, I'm still not super extravagant in the things that I'm purchasing. I'm pretty modest. Old habits die hard, and I'm okay with that. There are things that I will splurge on occasionally, and that's totally fine because I have become financially free. I'm already in that position, so it's not a problem, and I'm not paying credit card interest when I purchase those things. All right, let's move to number 3. The third thing I avoided until I became financially free, and this one was prioritizing liabilities before assets. I didn't realize this when I was a lot younger, in my early 20s, but as I was getting older and into my 30s, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I absolutely love this book. I will leave a link below. If you haven't read it, you've got to check it out. But when reading this book, he talks about buying assets to pay for your liabilities. So if you want a fancy car, then buy an investment property, and the money that you are creating from that investment property can pay for your fancy car. It can pay for that car payment. But we don't want to be buying that fancy car and making that payment from just our 9-to-5 job. We want the asset first, and then we can purchase that liability, right? We want to purchase something that's going to make us money, and then we can purchase something that is not going to make us money and pay for it with the asset. And this is such a key mind shift Because when you start to think, okay, what can I spend my money on that is going to make me money, then you are less likely to buy things that aren't going to make you money. And I know this happened for me when I started buying stocks, for example, and I saw how much they were giving me on my investment, the return on my investment. I was really excited and I wanted to buy more and more stocks so I could make more and more money without doing anything, with just purchasing the stock and then letting it sit. Super easy. And like I mentioned before, if you are interested in learning how to invest to create that passive income, make sure and click that link below in the description and check out the details on how you can work with me. So I really focused on purchasing those assets. I purchased multiple properties and I had roommates and I had tenants. So I was creating cash flow every single month from those properties. And then I could buy another asset. Or if I wanted to, I could buy a liability, like a new car or something that wasn't going to make me money. All right, let's move to number 4. I have a bonus one for you, actually. So this one is keeping my housing costs as low as possible. I avoided a high housing cost. This is also one of the 3 largest expenses of most Americans. It's housing, food, and transportation. And by focusing on keeping my housing costs super, super low, I was able to invest more of my money. And I had roommates my entire life, ever since I moved out of my parents' house. I've always had at least one roommate. And at one point I had 3 roommates, so there were 4 of us total in the house. And there could be 4 of us total in my current house now, but since I am financially free, I am not so focused on growing that money that now I can prioritize having my own space over having the money, the extra money coming in. So I still have 1 roommate, but I do not have 3 roommates. And I'm totally fine with that because I am financially free. So I don't necessarily need that money. Sure, it would be nice to have extra money. But again, going back to our priorities, a priority of mine before I was financially free was to collect as much rental income as possible. So I wanted to have as many roommates as possible. In my previous place, I ended up finishing the basement and I moved into the basement so that I could have 3 roommates upstairs. So there could be 4 of us total in that home. And that's what I wanted. I wanted more cash flow coming in so that I could become financially free, and then I can kind of take a break and have a little bit more of my own space. So those are the 4 items that I avoided until I became financially free. Comment below and tell me one thing you are going to avoid doing with your money before you become financially free. I am curious to know. And if you do want help becoming financially free, make sure and click the link below on how you can work with me. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button and share it with someone else who would like to hear this information. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.